Hello there, my name is Dr. Saleem Javed and we are talking about Society Film The Art, and we have talked about how a consistent distance between the figures on the screen and the viewers cannot be preserved as the spatial connections are continually altered by editing and camera movement. Now, moreover, we are talking about how Society Film The Art actually contributed uh, in cinematic style of filmmaking, or we can say that how Society Film The Art is one of the major reasons that people realize the importance of that we should have a different style of acting, for that matter. So, for the actors who are uh, interestingly, all those Indian films where Swarab Modi has all those films which Swarab Modi directed. Um, Swarab Modi is one very famous director from early Indian film industry. So he had, I have seen a lot of his films. I have some of the samples with me at home also. So Sikandar and Porus, having a dialogue, and it is all 19th century, style of theater where they are talking, and Sikandar is sitting like this, and Puru is there, and all that theatrical gesture, all that body, all that contortions, it is evident there. So I think you know so Society Film The Art was there, it was there. So even in the most traditional film productions, as I said, those captured in long shots from a single camera angle and edited solely between scenes, that figures in the composed tableau appeared significantly larger on screen than they would on a legitimate stage, resulting in theatrical gestures that can easily become exaggerated to the point of absurdity. Now, this is another hit point. It hits the bull's eye. Now, what happens? Like, suppose uh, if it is a film, then my gestures are within, like, suppose if I really want to impress you right now who is watching this particular video. So if I put my hand like this, observe the frame, my fingers are on my pink shirt, not that powerful. But if I put my hand like this, or if I start doing something like this, now see the difference. My hand on my black jacket, it is more prominent. Now when I say my hand on my black jacket, you can clearly see it. Why? Because reality is captured through camera. Right now it has got zoom lens also, but imagine that I am talking about 1908, 1909, 1910, 1911, 12, 13, or maximum 14, because then the World War I started. So there, when you had the facility to move camera, obviously zoom lens was not there as it is today in this camera which is recording me. So when camera came close to actor for the first time, obviously the mid was captured, mid shot was captured, medium long shot was captured. In some cases maybe because close up was also there. If you talk about not in this a trip to the moon, no, there is no close up there, but yes, um, at least mid shot is there. At a great train robbery is there. So People knew about close-up, and there is no denial of this. Now imagine that if I am a theatre actor and I am in a habit of doing, imagine Kathak in it, imagine some Indian art form, and where they run their eyebrows, they do it like this. Now imagine they are doing eyebrows like this and you are sitting in a chair at a distance. It may look beautiful. Imagine now you are putting a ECU of the eyebrow, ECU, extreme close up of the eyebrow. Trust me, it can be absurd also. I mean, it's a beautiful, it can be a beautiful movement from a distance, because it has got the entire aesthetics also. But imagine that all these my hair, which is not noticeable here at this point of time. It is just one simple line. And if somebody is using extreme close up, maybe my one hair is running like this, another hair is running like this, which you are not able to notice. So when you put extreme close up, so technically, if I say so, cinema, society film the art, or film the art, actually when they started capturing performances and the camera was moving and the spatial equation was checked or challenged for the first time, and whatever was legitimate on stage, because there was a distance, and for the first time camera was coming to the audience, sorry, the camera was coming to the actor, because they were recording performances. So when the camera was coming to the actor, for the first time they were able to see theatrical gestures in an exaggerated way, and this exaggeration, uh, from a distance it looks beautiful, it looks beautiful, but when camera came close, it came close to absurdity. So those style became exaggeratedly absurd. Now Now imagine the disappointment of lot of people, those who must have been thinking now they have got new task to discover about a new style of acting, because it is like, you must have seen those funny scenes where you have a point of view shot of a of a doorbell, where it is 8 mm or 10 mm lens, and people are coming and standing like this and they look very funny. They are big in the head and then they are very small because you are seeing it through the keyhole, and they look very funny. So it is basically 8 mm or 10 mm lens, and they look very funny. So for the first time they were actually discovering things at that level, that something which was theatrical, which was legitimate theatrical gestures, now they are becoming exaggeratedly way. I mean, they were exaggerated because they were able to be observed very closely for the first time, and they were like becoming absurd, to a limit of absurdity. Absurdity was there. Now, in summary, by endeavoring to mimic the perspective of a theatre audience, the film The Art Camera elucidated to a generation of filmmakers its significant dissimilarity to the human eye. Now, again, if you can see it on screen, it's you know it is something which maybe a good teacher can talk about at least 1 hour. Look at the last line, what it's saying. It is saying that film The Art Camera elucidated to a generation of filmmakers its significant dissimilarity to the human eye. Dissimilar to the human eye. What does it mean? What does even it means? That is I really want to, start this Italian cinema, and I was hoping that I will finish film the art movement in one lecture. But when I started reading, understanding, and absorbing it, then I realized that it is seriously that it should be taught in film schools. Cinema the art is film the art movement is not taught anywhere. I have seen quite good universities syllabus, Indian as well as foreign university syllabus also. Cinema the art, film the art movement is not taught. And I think more than in a film school, it should be taught in NSD in India, uh, or it should be taught in different film school also and acting schools also, because this is a point which is a clear departure, and that departure is not some inconvenience. No, there is no inconvenience. If I come close to lens and start doing something funny, uh, no problem maybe, but the need that for as I said, that when you talk about a great train robbery, obviously it's raw, but when you talk about film the art, it is nuanced, aesthetical, intellectual. So, for the first time, the fertile land for a change was made, and from this fertile land, two distinctive style of filmmaking also and performance also germinated, and look what wonders it has been doing since then. And a lot of not only Indian actors for that matter, all the actors who go to theatre and they decide to move to film acting, you know, they struggle between these two forms. I have been like, we are starting a very interesting course in our college where we are inviting all the professionals. You should, the condition is that you should not be a student, that you come and learn cinematography with us for 1 month, and we are doing it. We are starting on 9th of March. Now, the very interesting thing that when I talk about cinema, and when I talk about acting for that matter, and when I talk about cinematography for that matter, uh, like when you go to learn acting for that, when you go to learn acting, they don't teach you acting initially. They don't do. A good mentor will not teach you acting. You cry, you cry like this, you laugh. No good mentor will do it. No good director will do it. They will put you in mundane things. कि जाओ बेटा चाय लेके आओ, जाओ बेटा नरेशन हो रही है, सुनो बैठ के, है ना, सुनो बैठ के, करो कुछ मत, सुनो बैठ के, अच्छा बीच में सबको पानी पिलाओ, do this, do that, clean the floor, mop the floor. When you spend a good number of days, maybe months, maybe years, depending on the director or depending on the mentor, then because you have detached yourself, you have not been learning about acting. You were actually learning about acting. You were learning how to do chores. You were learning how to take care of your colleagues or co-actors. Obviously, when they come on screen, they become co-actors. When you give them tea, that eye contact is there, that physical touch is there, that exchange of nuanced understanding is there. Different moods of your group, people in your group. you know who likes what, you start knowing people. And that is what performance is all about. You know people, you care about people, you know how they will behave, then you know how, what they want, and you start offering them. And that's how your acting starts. Whereas we think that they will teach us how to, sit properly or talk properly. No, they don't do it. You discover your distinctive style later. They teach you how to be human first. That's what any good mentor in the world, does. Uh, for that matter, my teacher Sudanva Deshpande, or my wonderful teacher, he was director of National Art Gallery, who used to teach Rajiv Lochan sir. Trust me, these were the true teachers who did not teach us what they're supposed to teach us. Other than that, they taught us everything. They taught us everything, and after understanding a lot of things, we realized, हाँ यार पढ़ाया तो अच्छा है, and we were able to do things. So that is what I teach in my class, that if you are coming for attendance, don't come. If you are coming about topic, don't come. I'll share notes with you. Same thing is happening with film de art actually, and that is what knowledge does. That is what critical thinking does. That when you are able to associate two different things together, and a new knowledge is produced. What most of us who come and deliver lecture here, we prepare our PPT, we then talk about what is written in PPT, but the lecture is beyond these PPTs. If they are the mere touch upon points, then it is good. And if I only read them, then that is something that I was able to do through a book also. So class, again my dialogue from the class is not about notes. Class is about what has not been written in the book. Class is not about what is written in the book. That is what I have been saying for past 1 decade now. कि जो किताबों में लिखा है उसके लिए क्लास मत आओ. जो लिखा नहीं है, जो लिखा जा सकता था और जो नहीं लिखा गया है, जो कि अपने आप में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. What has been written in your chapter, that is something you can study. But what has not been written, which could have been written, but has not been written, the meaning exists between the lines, not in lines. The devil exists in details. So between the line, when people ask you to read between the lines, you come to class to read between the lines, not the lines. How beautiful this is, how fragile this is, how nuanced, how artistic is this, that you don't come to class to read lines. You come to class to read what is between the lines. And that is what critical thinking, a good teacher, a good mentor, a good director, or a good producer, or my good technician does. When you understand your job, if you are a student and you understand your job, I am a teacher, I understand my job. Somebody is recording me, he understands his job. Somebody is switching between text and visual and doing it beautifully, understand her job. That's how knowledge is produced. That's how you go beyond text. That's how that's how new knowledge starts flourishing. That's how, you know, generations of filmmaker, generations of filmmakers, its significant dissimilarity to the human eye. We again come back to the same circle. Human eyes sees things in a very interesting pattern. Like suppose there is a chapter which you must have read. Film grammar is based on common sense, or all the lenses behave the way eye behaves. You may find it true. Some people have got their interesting arguments. Uh, when I'll be talking about technical part, then I'll be talking about it. Now, I genuinely want to skip most of it now, and I really want to tell you about two very important, uh, though I really want to talk about Adolphe Zukor again, and films like Queen Elizabeth. And okay, let me just talk, otherwise I'll miss this particular topic. Because I was feeling that I should start this Quo Vadis very soon, but there is so much to talk about here. Now, as I said, now let's come to a very interesting point, and let me summarize it. So mannerism changed obviously when cinema started recording it. When the plays started getting recorded, the mannerism changed. Now, film acting changed for that matter. Now, there is another very interesting, very important contribution. I wanted to skip it, but then I realized if I skip it, then one very good point will be left. Uh, Film de art, you know, uh, changed the narrative model of Hollywood. Now, you would say how that is true, that film de art is a French movement, and it is changing how it is changing something in America, and especially the duration of the film. You remember we were talking about one reeler or two reeler. Now, this film, The Assassination of Dew the Goose, on November 17, 1908, had been only 921 feet, or a little less than 15 minutes long at standard silent speed. One of the last and most prestigious film, Queen Elizabeth, which was released in 1912, ran 3.5 reels, or about 13 minutes, just 1.5 reel under the standard feature length. Now, Hollywood was producing one reelers, Quo Vadis, and this Italian spectacles that I'll be talking about. Or maybe I have talked about it, I'll skip it, I'll start with D.W. Griffith now. So, and then you have long plays being recorded. Italian films were doing wonders. So, technically, film de art movement made Hollywood understand that if you do not start making long films, you will not be able to sustain for a long time. So that is what that the success of film de art productions was also responsible to increase the length of the film worldwide, where the industries were less rigidly controlled than in America. So technically it helped Spain, it helped Italy, it helped France to raise the length of the film, which means to say more, express more, have longer stories, have more important stories. And so this is about film de art. I wanted to talk about Italian super spectacle, or for that matter, how Italian film, initial film, when I'll be talking about Italian film industry, when I'll be talking about uh, Rome Open City or The Bicycle Thief, there is where I promise to bring this particular thing, that what was the history of Italian films, and then how, what shape it took after the Second World War, and how beautiful this comparison is. If I talk about Italian films right now here, they were important till First World War, till World War One. Cabiria or Quo Vadis, these were two major films, and for the they are called extra, वो जो कहते हैं ना कि धूम धड़ाके वाली फिल्म थी ये सारी. So you won't believe the standard. I have discussed it, so I'm just finishing it in next 2 minutes, and then we'll be talking about D.W. Griffith from next video onwards. And when you see these two films, and obviously film the art movement has its own contribution, then you realize that cinema, it was not an exclusive product of Hollywood. Everybody was owning it, everybody was doing experiment to an extent that they were flabbergasted by it. Hollywood was flabbergasted by when they saw Cabiria, and when they saw Quo Vadis, when they saw the grand sets, when they saw actors, animals, stunts. For that matter, there are scenes. One of my favorite film is Ben-Hur, and that scene, round scene where chariots are running. The reference is from Quo Vadis or from Cabiria. Yes, from Quo Vadis, if I'm not mistaken. Such was the standard. I'll be talking about D.W. Griffith very soon in the next video. And thank you for, with this, we have created a record with this particular video. You can go and check that record in the playlist. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.